Food is one of the basic needs of humans besides shelter and clothing. No wonder during this pandemic, the food and beverage industry was one of the few industries that continued to thrive. While some flourished, others had a hard time keeping their businesses afloat. Big or small, this pandemic really forced a lot of establishments to close down. As they say, starting a business is always a gamble. Its success depends on whether you play your cards right. But what does it take to put up a food business during a pandemic? And what are the needs for it to become a sweet success? Good day mga kapuso, this is Chef Jose Sarasola. Join me for today in this episode of GMA Lifestyle Straight from the Expert as we discover how to start and run a food business during the pandemic. It's 2022. It's almost 3 years since the pandemic hit, and to say it's been a tough 2 years is an understatement. We've seen several businesses close down due to the economic consequences of this pandemic. Even food businesses like restaurants really took a big hit during this pandemic, despite it being one of the most essential businesses. Food entrepreneurs Chef Thirdy Dolatre and Chef Kevin Navoa, who own Hapag, can attest to this.
Unang-una, no, syempre kasi lalo na yung mga nasa commercial area, nawalan talaga ng traffic ever since nag-start yung pandemic. And other than that, syempre, once na mawala yung traffic, automatic ang tatama sa business mo yung cash flow. Yeah. So, I think yun yung naging problem ng mga restaurants and lalo na yung mga hindi nabigyan ng discount pagdating sa rent.
And especially if you guys imagine yung mga sa mall, kailangan pang pasukin, you guys have to go inside the mall pa, so mas high risk pa to be exposed. So some people would not opt for restaurants sa malls. They'd rather go to the restaurants na outside of malls kasi mas safe siya.
Although there were unfortunate ones, there are also restaurants that continue to flourish despite the challenges. Just like Gypsy Baguio and Gypsy Maginhawa, which were founded by invertebrate culinarian Chef Waya, Wijangco. Hi Chef Waya! Hello! Thank you so much for joining us here on GMA's Lifestyle Straight from the Expert. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. I'm doing okay. I'm in Baguio City at the moment and enjoying the cool weather. Today,
thank you so much for joining us. We have a very interesting topic which is very close to our hearts as chefs and syempre as entrepreneurs. So our first question today, of course, will be about our respective food businesses. So let's start with you first, Chef Waya. Baka you can share your story about your food businesses na tinayo mo, yung Gypsy Baguio and Gypsy Maginhawa. And syempre, how did it all start and how did you move from like one branch yung Roses Avenue, then you moved to Baguio? So, paano nag-start lahat to, Chef Waya?
You know, talking to our financial advisors, my accountant, our lawyers, you're saying, you know, every day you don't decide. You're spending money. So, if you want to save the business, you have to make hard decisions. So, we had another smaller branch in Maginhawa, which we opened November 2019. So, it was like our baby branch. But we decided to save that branch because that location also housed our school. So, to hit two birds with one stone is to save that branch. So, we decided to close the Roses branch in April and kept Maginhawa. But Maginhawa was closed for operations until July because, you know, everything was closed.
Yeah, hirap.
We started reopening mga July. So, but when we reopened in July, we opened it as like a deli grocery. Until end of the year, ganun lang yung setup namin. And then by 2021, I was able to go to Baguio. Funny was, my husband was trapped in Baguio for 9 months. We didn't see each other.
Wow.
So, and he was working here. So when I finally got to Baguio in January, he said, "You've always talked about opening in Baguio. Maybe now is the time to do it." He said, "Bakit in the middle of a pandemic, really open another branch?" Ang crazy, di ba? I'm from Baguio actually. I go here.
Okay.
I'm from Baguio often for the past 15 years. So, the location found us. It was really scary kasi parang all the last remaining eggs we put in this basket. Yung parang huling, syempre, you know, by the time we got here, year and a half na tayo into the pandemic, basag na lahat ng alkansya namin, di ba? Yung parang lahat talaga lumabas na, lahat ng klaseng crisis pinagdaanan na. So I said, you know, all our eggs are now in this basket. If this doesn't work, we're dead in the water and that's it. We opened May 28th.
Oh, okay.
Of 2021. And June, July were great months. You know, that was the time that everyone was coming up to Baguio and people took to us right away. Yung first 2 months was a really good honeymoon. And then August came and lockdown started again in Manila.
Yeah.
And it stayed in Baguio for 21 days straight.
Wow.
Walang tigil na torrential rain and no one was going out. So parang, ano nangyari? Did we make the right decision? What happened? Parang we thought, we were such an high from June, July, then suddenly wala na naman.
Amid the pandemic, adaptability became the key for food businesses to thrive. Talking about the surge naman in this pandemic, this COVID-19, what were the main, how would I say it, how are the main challenges and changes sa food industry in terms of your restaurant during these past 2 years? Ano yung mga talagang nahirapan ka and talagang nag-iba for you?
Well, one of the things, you know, when we opened this Baguio branch, because we were opening in a pandemic, we had already the pandemic mindset. So when we were even considering the location, one was it needed to have an alfresco area. So kailangan may alfresco. 2, ang dahil dito sa Baguio, kasi you don't need aircon. Because with COVID prevention, ventilation is key. So here we can keep all the windows open. And, you know, the temperature is nice and balmy and people don't complain that there's no aircon. And we have private rooms so people can do bubble dining. In looking for a location, dapat may ganun, may private rooms, may alfresco, a big enough dining space so that the tables are well spaced. Another big change is ang laki ng cost na testing, na isolation. So like when we were in Magalona, when we were starting at the start of the pandemic, what we actually did was frontline feeding. So for the first 2 months of the pandemic, we were cooking and sending food to frontliners. What I did was I housed all my staff para walang risk of infection sa commuting, sa community transmission. So lahat sila nakatira dun sa location. Tapos pag may aalis, kunyari, uwi muna sila sa pamilya nila for a week. When they come back, they quarantine first before they rejoin the team. So may quarantining, may testing. And all of that is costly. You know, I worked with Resto PH throughout the pandemic and up to now. And that's what we're saying. We need some subsidy to help us with these costs na para hindi ipasa lahat sa customer. Kasi now, customers are complaining. Mas mahal na mag-eat out. But it's more expensive to operate restaurants now, di ba?
True.
It's way more expensive to operate restaurants now. Which is what we appreciated naman here in Baguio, is the government was very supportive in terms of, there's free testing, they have decent isolation facilities. So, when someone gets sick, the barangay really steps up, they monitor you, they send ayuda, ganyan. So, ang laking bagay nung merong ganong klaseng support from the local government.
That's true. I think I can relate to that then sa bar ko rin yung Avenue 75. Ang dami rin adjustments from in terms of the dine-in. Had to make my alfresco area much bigger, Chef Waya, kasi ang dami nag-request na gustong kumain sa labas compared sa loob. So talagang I think in terms of running a bar, restaurant, any kind of food and beverage business, talagang really important talaga yung alfresco and yung sabagay adjustment. Pero I understand you also in terms of yung how to maintain, you know, if our guests complain about our price, they should also see the bigger picture in terms of like, mahal kasi mag-maintain ng restaurant talaga, Chef Waya, di ba?
And you know, it's something also that we're asking guests din. Na parang we found that, you know, especially last year, no, na people started really going out. Guests are way more demanding. Guys, let's try and be kind. Because we've lost a lot of staff in the past 2 years that we've spent money on training and, you know, and building them up. And a lot of them have, you know, gone home to the province or decided that, you know, it's too hard to be quarantined. Sourcing ingredients is so much harder now. Everything is so much more expensive. Tapos dito sa Baguio, you know, if you want to maintain the kind of, you have to get stuff sa Manila, have it shipped and everything. So, we really need to charge higher. And siguro, you know, we can meet halfway, diba, with our guests. Na parang, okay, we want to serve you, we want to do the best we can, but also, we'd appreciate a little bit of kindness and consideration.
And just like the old saying goes, there's always an opportunity when there's a crisis.
This lockdown now, not lockdown, sorry, yung surge of cases now, we had no choice kasi people, we were coming into this surge, fully booked kami. And then once papansin na yata ng mga guests namin na tumataas yung cases, they all canceled immediately. So of course, being second year na to, we were already ready to just pivot once again to online ordering and stuff. Yeah, so we're still doing it.
Iba pa rin yung
ano na siya, pang tawid technically, and to make sure that our staff had something to do and may salaries pa din sila during a time like this. So we don't actually make enough for takeaways. It was more for the staff level.
Maybe for some restaurants, pero for us na fine dining, iba yung nadadala ng sales ng dining as compared to takeaway.
According to a recent study conducted by Google, Temasek, and Bain & Company, the Philippines was once the leading country in terms of digital growth in the Southeast Asia region. The country has reportedly seen a 132% growth in e-commerce with a double-digit increase across all sectors, including food delivery services.
The Philippines also recorded the highest proportions of new users in Southeast Asia, which reached 12 million in the first half of 2021.
Moreover, 20% of these new Filipino digital consumers only used online platforms for the first time when the pandemic began. Truly, the high demand for online food delivery service proved to be a silver lining for the food industry. Those who lost their livelihood found solace and renewed hope in putting up their own food businesses, like volleyball player Jayvee Sumagaysay and actor model Jay Magalona.
Ayun, nag-start yung pandemic, unexpected naman talaga yung situation na yun. Pero, syempre, kailangan natin na isipin na yung volleyball kasi talaga for me, ano lang yan, hindi yan panghabang buhay talaga. So, naapektuhan siya. Then, after 2 months, dun ko na naisipan business. Pero itong food business, naisipan ko siya kasi yung kuya ko is chef. So, na-delay yung pag-akyat niya ng barko kasi gawa ka ng pandemic. Hindi ko in-expect na sa maliit na puhunan, makikita ako and makakapag-pundar pa ako ng mga gamit. Basta natutuwa talaga ako na bibigay ko yung tulong sa kapatid ko, sa pamilya ko, and dun sa mga ibang kapitbahay pa namin na tumutulong sa akin, lalo na sa pagpapak ng food meals.
So, hindi ako prepared yan dahil nga nandun ako sa stage ng buhay ko na nag-enjoy pa ako sa work na meron ako, sa career na meron ako, which is modeling. dahil nga lockdown tayo, yung Project Tapsi kasi matagal na siyang nakasave sa laptop ko. Masyado akong fan ng Filipino breakfast, ng mga silog. Kaya sabi ko, one day, gagawa ako ng business na ganito. Wala akong knowledge at all. Sabi ko nga, di ba, yung hinalungkat ko sa Project Tapsi, it was just a mere menu design. Wala pa yung systematic thing that you need to do kung paano mapatakbuhin yung isang business. Wala pa akong inventory, wala pa akong suppliers, wala akong contacts at all. So, nangapa lang talaga ako kung ano yung gagawin ko. Nanood ako ng YouTube, nanood ako ng kung ano-anong video kung paano gumawa ng ganitong food. Dahil wala naman akong culinary background eh. So, talagang natutulong ako dun sa business na yun nung ginawa ko na siya on my own. Nung ako na yun nandun. Ang budget ko lang when I started the business is around 6,000 pesos. Yung Project Tapsi, to be honest, siya yung bumuhay sa akin for a year. Dahil sa kanya lang ako nag-focus. Lahat ng pangangailangan ko, even my bills, my rent, salary, ng mga staff ko, sa kanya nang galing. So, out of dun sa experiment business, nagawa ko siya for more than a year actually. For me, ang dami ako natutunan, marami ako natulungan. So, Project Tapsi is really a success.
As we enter the third year of this pandemic, running a business continues to be a roller coaster ride for all entrepreneurs. In late 2021, when bigger capacity for dining operations were allowed, restaurants briefly enjoyed an increase in revenue. I think yung kagandahan ng social media now, it's very easy to promote your stuff on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can actually promote yung mga promos, yung mga discounts, mga buy one, take one. So, in terms of my bar, I really took advantage of social media. Kasi, as you said, walang dine-in nung ECQ. It was, you know, if people don't drop by your bar or don't drive by your establishment, they won't know na may food. So, I really used the social media side of the business to really, you know, help promote yung bar. Kasi, nung time na yun, talagang walang sales because people were thinking na parang it's hard to go out or rather order from something na mas sure ako. So, yung bar ni chef parang hindi pa ano yan. So, parang I had to really promote na we do sell food and, you know, our food's pretty good. It's cheap also. So, parang yun lang. I had to like really use yung power of social media to keep my bar afloat, especially nung kasagsagan ng ECQ. You open kasi your Baguio branch, kasagsagan ng pandemic, diba? So, ano yung sales from like, of like the two branches, the one that you opened and the old one nung pandemic basically?
Well, yun nga, ups and downs. I mean, there are months na super baba, tapos merong months na babawi, pag December, pag ganyan, so nakakaano kami ng mga food deliveries na marami. Really, gapang talaga, di ba? Parang just month to month trying to think of how, diba? What do we need to address? Ano yung pwede nating gawing bago? So, like when October last year, I think, we reformatted Gypsy Maginhawa. We decided, okay, no more aircon. It's all windows anyway. We opened all the windows. We screened it. We installed fans. So, doon, nagkaroon kami ng magandang dine-in and meeting space. Kasi ang maganda dun sa area na yun is we had, you know, very distinct spaces where people can come and share a meal or do meetings. So we were able to market it more as a meeting space for, you know, yung mga companies na wala na silang office work from home lahat. And they get together once a month or once every 2 months to, so that's one of the things that we were able to push. I'm hibernating Maginhawa, so my staff are coming up to Baguio. So now that I have more staff here, then we'll do takeout and delivery. We'll do, you know, we can do service off-site catering, yung mga ganyang things. So again, it's really listening to what your customers are, you know, wanting to have. Ang problema ko kasi sa Manila, that's why I'm hibernating for now, is there's very little opportunity and there's so many of us competing for the little opportunities that there are. So ngayon, nagiging price yung competition, diba? And ako, I can't compete on price If I compete on price, I'm ruining my brand. So sabi ko, sige, let's hibernate until better times are there so that we can continue the brand as it should be.
So with the ever-changing needs of customers in this ever-changing world, how can one put up a business, especially now during this pandemic?
Siguro, unang-una ang kailangan i-consider kung sa pagtatayo ng food business is yung ano ba yung click sa tao. And syempre, yung pagmamarket mo na din. Kasi ako, yun lang din talaga naging puhunan ko, yung social media talaga.
For me, sipag lang, huwag tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa. Let the people know that you have a great, amazing product, and then you'll do good in business. Yun, my advice would be to assess your business. Tignan mo kung saan ka nagkukulang. Diba?
And ano yung priorities?
Ano yung priorities mo. Tignan mo kung ano yung kailangan baguhin. Then from there, laban ulit.
Bawas muna yung ego during a time like this. Advice ko is people.
Hindi kasi madali maging negosyante, mag-business. Diba? Pero yun nga, kailangan maging mapagpasensya talaga.
Yes, nothing else. New secret.
And if running a food business is likened to baking, what ingredient would it need to become a sweet success?
So you have to, diba, give them a higher level of experience. Diba? It has to be better than what they can do at home. It has to feel like, diba? It has to feel sulit. It has to feel yung ganyan. So, kailangan mo rin mag-level up nung experience. So, it's really, again, listening, knowing your customers, keeping an open communication with them so that you can catch up to what they want, what they need, and be able to provide that in the best way you can.
Indeed, there is no one perfect recipe to become a very successful food entrepreneur, but there are tried and tested ones that you can work on, and of course, add a few secret ingredients on your own. Research, learn from the ones who succeeded you, and give it your best shot. And don't be afraid to show people what you can bring to the table. Again, this is Chef Jose Sarasola. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of GMA Lifestyles Straight from the Expert, and hopefully we inspired and equipped you to run your own business during this pandemic. Guys, also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Chef Jose Sarasola. And please also check out my sports bar, Avenue 75 in BF Homes Parañaque, Phase 3. We're open every day from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Please also watch Eat Well, Live Well, Stay Well every Friday, 11:20 a.m. on GMA. GMA Lifestyle is also on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Stay safe mga kapuso and have a wonderful day ahead.